The Live Financially Savvy podcast was created by Atia, the savvy accountant. She is a CPA, CA, and certified financial educator instructor. She has a passion for building generational wealth and wants to help you and others to do the same. She's created the podcast to help others live financially savvy. Lower your debt and build your net worth using techniques you learned here from others doing amazing things to live financially savvy.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Live Financially Savvy podcast. I'm your host, Atia, aka the Savvy Accountant. And today I'm excited to jump into this episode. So following my real estate series, I'm going to be talking to Makita Smith today. Makita Smith is a multi-million dollar producer and licensed real estate broker in the state of Illinois. She's the co-founder with her husband of Smith & Partners Realty Group Incorporated. And she also is the CEO of Savvy Chicks in Real Estate, Inc. Makita has been practicing real estate in the Chicagoland area for the last 14 years, and she's a staple in the community. She has also received awards for being excellent realtor, like 3 consecutive years in a row. She earned top producer in Chicago Associations of Realtors. I'm so excited to talk to Makita today about real estate, and we get into a lot of different aspects of real estate today. She talks about how her journey started, how her company started with her husband, what made them decide to start their company. We talk about different things that people need to look out for when they're trying to get into real estate, and kind of checklists that she tells people to look out for and costs that you need to be aware of. She talks about the importance of having a CPA, an accountant on your team, and what that means. So I'm so excited for this episode. Finally got to catch up with Makita. We've been trying to connect for a while. And so I'm excited to have her as part of my real estate series. So without further ado, we're going to get started into the episode. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. I just wanted to ask you guys, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, if you can please share it with your family and friends. I do these topics because I'm passionate about building generational wealth and helping people just live their best financial lives. I want everybody to live financially savvy. And so I just do these episodes so that it can help somebody. So if it's helping you and if the information is helpful, share it with people that you care about that can benefit from this information. Like me on iTunes, Apple Podcast, like me, and write a review. If you guys have something you want to say, send me a message. I read them all because I run my own page. And so send me a message and I'll get your message and I respond to my messages. So just let me know if you guys are enjoying the podcast. And yeah, I really want you guys to enjoy it. So let me know if you guys are enjoying it. And I'm having an event in Orlando, Florida on June 23rd. So if you guys are in the Orlando area, look out for the Nurture Your Finances event. You can get information on my website. You can get information at nurtureyourfinances.com. You can get information on Instagram at Nurture Your Finances. We have a page for the Nurture Your Finances event. So you can get tickets at bit.ly/nurtureyourfinances, all lowercase letters. And so, yeah, that's the housekeeping for right now. And so I look forward to seeing anybody who's in Orlando, Florida on June 23rd. And so we're going to be talking about how to create, grow, and protect your net worth at this Nurture Your Finances event. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. So without further ado, let's get to this real estate series continuation with Makita Smith of Smith & Partners Realty and Savvy Chicks in Real Estate. So enjoy this episode and let me know your thoughts. So thank you so much for being on the Live Financially Savvy show, Makita.
Yes, I am. I was really looking forward to, I know we were trying to connect for a while, so I was really looking forward to our call tonight.
Yeah, I did want to talk to you for a long time and we just couldn't get our schedules together with the conference.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we got to meet up. So I usually start off by asking the guests to give their background in their own words. I read your bio, but I like for everybody to hear about you, from you in your own words. So can you tell us how you got started in real estate and let everybody know about you?
Okay, well, my name is Makita Smith. I am a licensed real estate broker in the state of Illinois. I've been licensed in real estate since 2004, so about 14 years now. Really enjoyed it overall. A lot of good times, a lot of down times, and overall, I went traded for the world. So my husband and I, we actually opened up our own brokerage in a suburb of Chicago called Plainfield, Illinois. And we opened that up in 2011. So since then, we've had our own company, and that pretty much sums it up. Oh, and also I recently opened up a new business, which is Savvy Chicks in Real Estate, which was like a segment to all of the real estate agents that were reaching out to me on my social media platform just from me, selling real estate and publicly educating people about the process.
Awesome. So I definitely am going to talk about your company that you have with your husband, and we're going to get into the Savvy Chicks in Real Estate because I'm very interested in that, and I definitely follow that on social media. But I wanted to talk about real estate and how you help people get into real estate. So if we had to talk about, you might have more than 3 things, but 3 things that people need to know before they get into buying. And I know there's differences with buying your primary residence versus investment. So we can start with primary residence.
So I, call myself the real estate wealth strategist, and it's the real estate wealth strategist for a reason, because a lot of people get into real estate. Let's say we're right now we're talking about buyers, and they have not educated themselves in terms of what they need in order to buy a home. And so I would say to someone that's looking to get into buying real estate, kind of go to Google and just research, how do I buy my first home? And just see what information comes up so that when you make that initial contact with the realtor, you kind of have a sense already of some of the things that they began to tell you about credit scores, about what to expect when it comes to looking in the market so that you're ready. And so I tell people to treat first-time home buyers, to treat it like an investment. So even though it may not be a property that you're going to buy, where you're going to rent or flip, it doesn't matter, because it's still going to be the largest investment that you make in your lifetime, and it needs to be treated as such. So you need a strategy plan. And so with my clients, I like to go over what's your strategy? What are your long-term and short-term goals when it comes to real estate? Because if you're not planning on being in a house for 10 years, then there's a different strategy to where, I tell them where we need to look at homes for you within the 3-year mark. Say you want to sell a home, buy a home, and then sell it within 3 years. Well, then we need to be looking for something that may have, they can grow some equity within that 3-year mark. And then also we need to look at what our buyers, when you go to put that house back on the market short term, what our buyers going to be looking at in order to buy that property as a resale. So you not only need to strategically think about what it is that you like, but if you're going to sell quickly, within the next 3 years, you need to consider, okay, what type of kitchen would the next buyer like? What type of floor plan would they like? Should I get a 3-car over a 2-car garage? And think on those terms.
I think those are great. That's great advice. And especially, I know that we've been going through the house shopping market, and my husband, he talks about resale value. Every house we see, he talks about resale value because, just truth be told, we move on average, it seems, every 2 to 3 years. And
okay.
So we definitely fall into that, where we consider resale value on all the homes that we look at. And so you definitely help buyers and investors. And so if this switched and somebody is looking to do investing, and so what types of conversations do you have for somebody looking to get into real estate for investing and creating passive income?
So with investment, I try to tell people my husband and I personal story with buying our first home, the down terms that we had when it came to holding on to the property too long, finding hidden repairs. You need to count up what are the possible costs that you can have with investing into a property. Things that you don't see, say, with your naked eye walking through the property, you need to be able to account for that. And a lot of people think about, okay, well, what is it going to cost me to buy this investment property? But no, you need to think about what is it going to cost you to buy the investment property. And then also, what is it going to cost you to continue to maintain, and what are the costs around the purchase price. And so that would be your taxes, that would be the insurance, that would be any county inspections, city inspections, any permits, anything related to the property. And if it's a foreclosure, that's like a whole nother ball game, because then you got to think about any liens on a property, past due bills on a property, and things of that nature. So you know that with investors, you typically buy properties that are less than what the average property is going for on the market, because you're looking for the greatest deal, right? Yep. So I tell investors to make sure that you have your financing also done up front, so that you know how are you going to finance this property if you're going the finance route. And if you're going to use someone else's money to finance the property, then we need to make sure that that process is also legitimate, because there are a lot of scams out here as well.
Definitely. And do you have a lot of experience with foreclosures? Because I know that that's definitely a different beast, and people, I mean, it looks appealing to them, but there's a lot of ins and outs that they need to be aware of when they're going to buy a foreclosure.
Yeah, I would say I have sold maybe over 200, and it may be more, over 200 foreclosures. Just from me working with the banks and listing their foreclosed properties, and working with investors and buying foreclosed properties, I've sold a ton.
Wow. So is there any advice that you can get people that when they're looking at foreclosures that they can look for? Just something that some people overlook, and then it always, like you.
So, yeah, one thing that they overlook is that it's not like buying a traditional home. So if you're writing up a contract on a foreclosed property, then you have to know that that foreclosed property is going to come with their own set of addendums that's going to override the contract. So, and typically that addendum could be anywhere from 3 to like 12 pages, depending on what bank that you're dealing with. So you want to make sure that you review that with your realtor and also with an attorney, so that you understand all of the consequences prior to signing that. In addition to that, I would also add that a lot of times with the foreclosures, it may be that you are not allowed an inspection contingency or period like it is with a traditional sale. So you have to make sure that you still have that same option. Say you get under contract and then you have a certain period where you can have your inspection. Some banks have ruled that out where you don't have an inspection before that. So with that case, if I run into something like that with an investor, I tell them, well, we need to get your contractor in here before we even get under contract, so that they can do a walkthrough of this property and then tell you what needs to be done, give you an estimate, so that one, we know what we need to bid, and then you know what exactly you're walking into. So those are a couple of things. And then also, the last thing I would add is that when you are buying a foreclosed property, a lot of times banks like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they are not responsible for transfer stamps, and they're not responsible for inspections. So if there are repairs that the village has deemed that requires to be done, then that falls onto the buyer to take responsibility of that. So investors definitely need to be aware of the repairs that could possibly cost them additional money.
And that's definitely something to mention, because that inspection period is very helpful when you're buying a traditional home. So the fact that
it is.
Don't get that, they need to know that. And so, yeah, that's a very good tip to have your contractor go before you even get under contract, so you're not on the timeline yet.
Right, exactly. And then you can know, okay, whether or not this is going to be a good investment for you, up front.
Exactly. So I want to talk about your company that you have with your husband. So you said that you guys started it in 2011. So he's a realtor as well, or?
Yeah. So my husband, I became licensed in 2004. And then 2008 is kind of when like the market crashed. Mm-hmm. And so when the market crashed, I started doing something that's called like BPO. So they're like CMAs for the banks and insurance companies. And they order those in order to like find out what a property is worth within a particular neighborhood, so they can decide whether or not they're going to transfer that property to a different bank, or if they're going to hold it. And then also it gives them an idea if the property was to foreclose, how much that property is worth. So I started doing reports like that maybe in 2007. And then so it opened me up to like another side of real estate, a niche market, which is called REOs. And that's real estate owned. It's real estate owned by the bank. And so I landed an account with Freddie Mac. And when I landed the account with Freddie Mac, they immediately asked me, can I handle 50 listings at one time? And I'm like, sure, I can handle 50 listings. I'm all excited because what agent gets 50 listings at one time? And so I interviewed with some brokerages because my current broker did not want to take on that responsibility. So I had to go out, find a brokerage to work for, and I did that. And once I found a brokerage to work for, I got the account. I began to list first of all, I began to learn about everything that could possibly go wrong in every type of scenario. I dealt with houses being on fire. I dealt with pit bulls being in a home when we had to rekey homes. I dealt with having to notify tenants who were unaware that the landlord foreclosed on the home and they were still paying their rent at the time.
Oh,
yes, I had to deal with properties that had flooded, properties that caught on fire while I had them listed. So that experience with working with Freddie Mac, like that's why I'm so big on educating the public, because I learned so much from being an REO broker. So with the success of that, and I began to sell like 40 houses plus a year, I could not handle all of the inventory and the work that went along with that. Because along with that, when you sell properties for the bank, a lot of investors are now coming to you because they see that you're the one that have the goods. And okay, I need to make sure that I'm on your list in case you get something that I want. I want to be the first one to be, notified or whatever. And so I would send lists to investors. And so it became very busy because not only was I working for the bank, I also began to get all of these buyers and investors that wanted to work with us as well. And so I couldn't do it all by myself. So my husband wound up getting his license in late 2008. And so we split, the properties between each other because it was more than just, those 50 properties. We also landed additional accounts. And so between both of us, 3 years later, which was in 2011, he left the company that we were working at together to go ahead of me to start our own company so that he can lay the foundation before I actually walked away from that type of income that I had. And so he came in 2008 license. We started the company in 2011, and 7 years later, we still have it.
That's awesome. That's like such a great story.
You don't realize how like your story until you're actually like repeating it to someone else. Like, oh, I could put that in a book.
You definitely could. Like you just landed 50 contracts and you were like, I can handle this.
Right. It's like, yeah, because when you go out for a job or you go out and it's like your profession and it's like you're a superwoman and you like, I can do this. I went to school for this. I've been educated for this. I'm ready for this. Like I sought that account. And when I finally landed, yes, I was ready.
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
Big dreams. I love that. And so that's amazing. And the fact that you and your husband do that. And so that's called Smith Realtors, right?
Smith and Partners Realty Group.
And so you started Savvy Chicks in Real Estate. And so I love following you online. I love what you do with that. And so can you talk a little bit about that and what that does? So
how that came about is that I actually started building up my Instagram account after following, which you're familiar with, the Six Figure Chick on Instagram. And so I started following her. She issued out this challenge and she was like, let's do a challenge to get 100 followers in a week. And I wasn't even using my Instagram really for real estate. I was just posting like every blue moon. And so I really was took upon her challenge and I was like, okay, let's try. Now I did not get 100 followers, but I got like 70 something in, 1 week. And I said, if I can get 70 something in 1 week, then I can get, over 200 in a month. And so that's when I began to really take building up my social media, my branding and marketing, choosing my theme colors, and just, creating a brand online and taking what I knew offline to teach and educate buyers and investors who started following me on Instagram. And so after I began to build up my social media following, what I noticed that a lot of people that I was also attracting were my fellow real estate agents. And a lot of them were the women in real estate. And so they would inbox me, DM me on Instagram. They would find my email and they would email me on Instagram. And then they would also text me. But what they were texting me was, how do I get started in real estate? I'm really interested in getting started in real estate, but I don't know where to start. They would text me and say, I just started my classes. Do you have any advice for me? And they would say, I'm new. I just got licensed, but how do I generate leads online? Like, how do I build my brand? How do I get my name out here? Because if we don't have leads, we don't have prospects, then we're not making any money.
Yep.
And so it began to take up, some of my time. And I said, I really want to help women in real estate, but it's also taken away from my money making activities and actually selling homes and getting a paycheck. And so I said, how can I marry, the two? And so I came up, it took me a while because I was like, okay, I know I need to create something, but I don't know what that should be. And so I think it took me about a year for that name to come to me because I came up with so many names for the business. And so Savvy Chicks in Real Estate just really stood out because I always wanted to have something with chicks in it because I just thought that was so hot and, so cool. And so I came up with that name, started the business, incorporated in one day. Like I incorporated it online in Illinois in one day. And I got the okay from the Secretary of State. And I was like, yes. And so then I found someone to do my website. I just worked really, really hard to build up all of the content online. And people were really accepting to the brand that I put out there. Everyone responded really well to it. And today it's doing really, really well. I had to take a break from real estate from February till about now, because now is the season to where, it's back to a hot market because the kids are getting out of school and it's warming up. So now I'm back to doing real estate full time, but I had to take a break from real estate to actually build the foundation and to build up my voice and my audience for Savvy Chicks in Real Estate.
Wow. And I definitely see the fruits of your labor because I remember when it started, I think we were in the same challenge in the Six Figure Chick. And I remember I was like, oh my God, you launched Savvy Chicks in Real Estate. And congratulations on the success of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so I definitely see that there's a lot of women in real estate and you help them out. And it sounds like you touch on basically all areas that they are, whether they're considering real estate, whether they started their classes, they just became licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you work with all of them. And do you provide coaching and you help them build their brands?
So the only thing I do not provide is coaching because coaching is a long-term commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that I have my hands in, I don't want to commit to someone long-term like that. So right now I have business consultations.
Okay.
And then so I have social media strategy sessions. I have Instagram audits since people are really crazy about, Instagram. I have Instagram audits. And then I also have to where I manage other people's social media accounts. And I have 3 different levels to managing the social media account as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely helping them build their brands online.
And that's a package. That's the package that I have, the Build Your Brand package. Let's pull this together. All of these colors that you have, there's nothing that makes your brand stand out. What are you going to call yourself? What is going to be your brand name that people is going to remember you by? And are you going to build a personal brand or are you building up your company? We need to narrow this down.
Yeah. And it's definitely needed. And so you're helping, seems like your hands are in so much in the real estate world.
Yes. And so what I tell people is oh, you're doing a lot, but I'm doing a lot around real estate. I'm not doing a lot outside of my lane. I'm doing a lot within real estate because there's so many different avenues that you can take just in real estate alone.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And I'm like fascinated with real estate. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you. And there's so many different ways to get involved in real estate that I don't think people realize. Like, it's not just about buying your primary residence. There's so many other ways that you can get involved in real estate. And my main goal is to help people build generational wealth. And I think that real estate is one of the oldest ways to do that.
Yes. And so I never realized, even though I heard of, so we're both in a group called Stocks and Stilettos and with Cassandra Cummings. And she introduced us to being able to buy stocks, in like real estate. And I'm like, I never thought about buying stocks that had to do with real estate. So you know that I'm also in her wealth investment club, and we actually own stock in Berkshire Hathaway.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, we're trying to go to his like annual meeting.
Oh, okay.
That'll be amazing. But
yes.
I definitely want to thank you for being on. But before we leave, because you have your hands in so many areas in real estate, I wanted to take a second to ask you to explain what you think the importance of having other professionals help you in the area of real estate. So,
oh my God.
So I know that accountants, you mentioned lawyers. I just wanted to get your take on the importance of having other professionals in your space and what role they play.
Okay. So, I actually, am very passionate about that only because when my husband and I made our first six figures separately, not, together, but separately, and we wound up with a big IRS bill, like after, I think like year 2, to where, I didn't plan for the success of real estate. And I think with us being in real estate, accountants and having CPAs and people that are able to help us to keep our books, and even if we're going to handle some of the financing aspects of it ourselves, we have to allow the professional to be able to train us and how to keep our receipts and how to separate it so that when tax time does come, and don't do it like at the end of each year, do it quarterly or monthly so that you're able to keep up. Because what I was doing, I was waiting until the end of the year, and it was overwhelming. I had so much anxiety when it came to tax time. But when I took the time out to meet with a CPA, when things became overwhelming, it was a breath of fresh air. Like I was like, okay, it's not that serious. There is a way out. There is a solution to this problem. And we were able to get on, a payment plan. So for like people in real estate, I would say make sure that you are consulting with a financial planner to say, we make all of this money with, when we do get paid with commission, because those are not short checks depending on what type of property that you're selling, but what are we doing with it? And like the same thing with investing in real estate. Like we're getting back into investing in real estate, my husband and I, because we get these checks, but we're paying bills. The bills are always going to be there. But what are you doing to prepare for retirement like right now? So I'm 43 years old. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind all the time, in 7 years, Makita, you will be 50 years old. What will you have to show for it? So this is why I'm more disciplined right now and in hustle mode, because I need to make sure that I am well educated in everything that has to do with creating wealth. And those are making sure that I have strategic partners like accountants, CPAs, financial advisors, and bookkeepers to make sure that my foundation is strong.
I love that. And because I definitely think that everybody plays a role, and it's important to have somebody that's going to help you, because like you said, you guys didn't anticipate that success and you guys got it, which is awesome.
And what I want to tell people out there too, and what I always say is, when you don't have someone in your family that has went before you to show the way. Both of my mom and dad, they work really long hours. My dad used to sell knockoff bags at the flea market, when we were growing up, and we would work with him on the weekends. But we had no idea of how to handle like six-figure income, even that it was coming to us that fast. Like we didn't realize how much we were making until at the end of the year, because we were so busy working in the business that we wasn't realizing the fruit of everything.
Yep. And I actually talk about like your money story and where you start, like what's your first memory of money. And for myself too, I know we never really talked about money. So all of my money knowledge that I have, it comes from mistakes, comes from me learning, comes from like me educating myself. And that's why I do this, so that people have the education and they have this before they make mistakes, so that they don't need to make mistakes, because these aren't mistakes that everybody needs to make. And there's like a saying, whether you make $10 or $10,000, if you can't manage it, it doesn't really matter. And so I think getting a hold of your money management skills is very important.
I so agree with that, because if you are faithful over the few that God blesses you with, then he will make you ruler over many, right?
Exactly.
So yes, it's that increase. But if you show that you're not able to handle what you have, then how can you go to the next level?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Nope, I definitely agree with that. And so do you have anything that going on right now that you want to tell the audience about that they can look out for?
So I do want to say to look out for, I just coming back from a Build Your Own Brand retreat in DC this past weekend, which was phenomenal. Like I met so many entrepreneurs, people that were looking to get into real estate. I met a 21-year-old who had already owned 5 businesses, started her nonprofit, and she told me how hard it was to do it, but she did it in 8 months. And I was just walking around there beaming with pride of so many young people of color that had their own businesses and that were thriving and that was hungry for, what God was doing in their lives. And so and then they also want to get into real estate. They say, we're getting ready to take our real estate classes. I was like, you girls are phenomenal. So I'm planning a save the date to be released sometime next week. And it's going to be for June 8th, a Saturday in Chicago. And what I want to do, like we just talked about, what are the important partners that we should have when it comes to real estate. And so I want to bring together women in real estate, not only to talk about building your brand and marketing, but I also want to talk about how to get our finances together, like how to level up and really secure that bag by making sure that we have financial planners in our lives. And then when we do get that commission check, that we're also paying our bills, but we also have some that we're putting up for retirement and we're paying ourselves. Like, how are you doing that? Like, how are you putting yourself on payroll? Do you have a system, a QuickBooks system, or an ADP service, or whatever service that you use to be able to pay yourself? And so if anything happens, like I have a friend, she owned her own real estate company, but when things got slow, she was able to draw unemployment because she had that system set up. And so I want to have a Savvy Chicks in Real Estate one-day conference, and I'm going to invite people like that tell us how to protect our brand and how to financially plan for your success. And because Cassandra has already committed to coming. Awesome. So I am so excited. Like, let's invest this money that we're making, this commission check that we're getting, let's put it back into our future. Yeah. And so I can't wait for that. So that's going to be June 8th, and it's going to be an all-day event.
Awesome. So congratulations on that. So I'm going to put that in the show notes so that everybody has access to it. And I like to end asking my guest what Live Financially Savvy means to them. So if you can tell us, what does LFS mean to you?
I think that it means just that, just making sure that I am taking control of my finances and not letting my finances take control over me to where everything is spinning out of control. Because as you know, well, I don't know if you know, but realtors hate paperwork. Even though we love to write contracts, like we hate dealing with the paperwork. And so that's what living financially savvy to me is, being able to, be fearless in not having anxiety when it comes to my finances.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being on, Makita. I loved our conversation and all the information that you gave on real estate. And congratulations on all your success. Like, you guys are doing amazing things, the Smith family.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get my husband to do more. He's not social media savvy per se, but I'm trying to get him, out of that box of like, come on, get on here and do a live with me.
Just keep trying. It'll happen.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being on, and I look forward to hearing more about your event.
You're welcome, and I will definitely let you know more about it. Hopefully you can make it as well.
Yep. All right. So have a good
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for listening to the Live Financially Savvy podcast. You can hear the episode at livefinanciallysavvy.com, and you can get all the show notes at livefinanciallysavvy.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Live Financially Savvy. And let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, and rate and download wherever you listen to your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.